Hi, today my group and I are going to look at the question, using academic literature critically evaluate the extent to which the value relevance of financial reporting has changed from 1970 to 1990 and from 1990 to date. Value relevance is defined in the extant literature as the association between accounting amounts and security market values, Barth, Beaver and Landsman 2000. First, Brittany and Sneha are going to talk about the change in the value relevance of historical and fair value accounting. Next, Farah and Amy are going to talk about non-financial information, and finally Agnes and I are going to talk about accruals. Let me hand over to Brittany, who's going to talk about historical cost accounting.
Now, Sneha and I'm going to talk about the value relevance about historical cost and fair value method. In the paper of Barliff and Haddad 2003, movement in general price level are ignored in historical cost accounting model and deform its information. However, it was briefly corrected when general price level accounting, known as GPLA, was employed in 1979. Move on to the time period from 1990 to present date. Jennifer and Catherine 1990 claimed that historical cost-based financial statements are insufficient for evaluating information companies. In Elizabeth's paper 2001 investigates the value relevance of historical cost, price level, and the replacement cost accounting from 1989 to 1995. Results indicated that replacement cost adjustments are relatively and incrementally relevant beyond historical cost, and price level measures when price level adjustments are incrementally value relevant beyond historical cost. According to Barliff and Haddad 2003, fair value accounting is more relevant than historical cost accounting, which hides the real financial position and income. Historical cost-based financial statements obscure real financial position and result of operation of a firm and provide enough room for manipulation. Often the historical book value of assets and liabilities has only a remote association with market values. This situation permits management to manipulate reported earnings and to hide their lack of real accomplishment. In summary, most papers state that historical cost-based are lack of value relevant. Next, I'm going to pass on to Sneha to talk about fair value method.
Following on from Brittany, I will now be talking about the value relevance of the fair value method. Firstly, in John Grenier's paper, Revaluation of Fixed Assets in Accruals Accounting, published in 1987, two assumptions are made. The first one is derived from the corporate report of 1975, where it said that investors needed financial statements to predict future cash flows as a result of investing in a particular firm. The second one refers to the agency theory by Jensen and Meckling in 1976, suggesting that the role of financial reporting is to monitor and control managers' financial performance. It was also pointed out in Grenier's paper that the revaluation method values the firm at current market value, and it shows that profit has changed in value during the period. Although the downfall is that managers may choose revaluation dates that may display the performance that is beneficial to them, making it easy for manipulation. However, this issue of manipulating figures can be restricted by several regulations outlined in Grenier's paper. Grenier states that there may be some identified issues with the revaluation method, but that it attempts to enhance financial reports along with the lines of monitoring the management's performance, partly to benefit the investors, which indicates that fair value method was starting to be deemed more value relevant for financial reporting. Now I'll talk about the view of the fair value method from 1990 to the present day. I will first refer to Mary Barth's paper, Fair Value Accounting Evidence from Investment Securities and the Market Valuation of Banks, published in 1994. She investigated how disclosed fair values of banks' investment securities and gains and losses are reflected in share prices compared to historical costs to determine which one is more relevant and reliable. She points out that critics of fair value accounting refer to reduced reliability of fair value estimates relative to historical costs. Using a measurement error model, she found that the investment securities' fair values have less measurement error than the historical costs with regard to the amount reflected in share prices. So fair value model is deemed more value relevant. Next, Aboudi, Barth, and Kasnick's paper in 1999 called Revaluation of Fixed Assets and Future Firm Performance. Evidence from the UK looks at whether upward revaluation of fixed assets are positively associated with realized future changes in a firm's operating performance, where these findings were proof that it is. As for Barliff and Haddad's paper, Fair Value Accounting and the Management of the Firm, published in 2003, states that the fair value, in contrast to the historical cost, measures and discloses the current value of assets and liabilities, and is more value relevant, as mentioned by Brittany. As for Barliff and Haddad's paper, Fair Value Accounting and the Management of the Firm, published in 2003, states that the fair value, in contrast to historical cost accounting, measures and discloses the current value of assets and liabilities and is more value relevant. The paradigm of fair value provides a more complete disclosure and is compatible with transparency, since the income statement would reflect real economic value of business activities. Now I'm going to pass it on to Farah to talk about non-financial information.
The value relevance of financial report has proven changes in terms of non-financial information disclosed in the financial statements. From 1970 to 1990, as stated in Ball and Brown 1968 paper, security prices do adjust rapidly to new information as it becomes available. Then, changes in security prices will reflect the flow of information to the market. Stock prices associated with the release of the income report would thus provide evidence that the information reflected in income numbers is useful. If the income forecast is negative, that is, if the actual change in income is less than conditional expectation, we define it as bad news and vice versa. There isn't too many academic papers emphasizing the importance of non-financial info disclosed before 1970s date. Now, moving to the after 1970s date, based on Olsen 1995 and Yang Yawen 2003 papers, it is said that current accounting practice fails to make valuing fast-changing technology-based industries such as telecommunications, software, and biotech sectors. These firms make significant value-enhancing investment in intangible assets such as R&D that they immediately expense in financial statements. Because accounting assets does not reflect technology-based firms' valuable intangible assets, this study investigates what non-financial information in market valuation. Although AICPA, Special Committee of Financial Reporting, encourage companies to increase disclosure in non-financial information, authorities are also concerned about that the risk of greater disclosure might outweigh the benefits. A study is made, stated in Bath and McNicholas 1994, find that environment clean-up liability estimates based on Superfund site data have incremental explanatory power over assets and liabilities. Some of the examples of papers that examine the value relevance of non-financial information are Market Size and Market Penetration in Wireless Industry, Ame and Leff 1996, Customer and Satisfaction, Itner and Lacker 1998, and lastly, patents in high technology firms, Dev, Land and Rain 1999. Therefore, clearly there has been significant changes in terms of the importance of non-financial info disclosed in FS. I pass slides to Amy.
I will talk about the case of patent data. This case concerns about the value relevance of non-financial patent information for high technology companies based on a paper by Mark Vernon, Susan in 2001. It is found that accounting earnings and book value information are highly relevant for security valuation in the high-technique sector, and that non-financial information can be used to sharpen perception of long-term benefits derived from R&D expenditure, and R&D expenditure is recognized as input in the invention and innovation process for the company. For estimation, two parts are involved. First, I would like to talk about fixed effects estimation method. It involves the use of industry-specific constant terms in the regression models. However, later it was shown that the practical application is relatively simple, and the fixed effects estimation can be hardly by adding variables. Second part is patent quality and the value of R&D. The relation between R&D expenditures and equity values tend to be more precisely measured when patent quality information is taken into consideration. Essentially, when the patent quality information is used in conjunction with traditional R&D expenditure information, it gives investor a more useful basis on which to judge the economic merit of firms' R&D effort. Then I will pass to Agnes to talk about accruals.
Next, John and I are going to look at the value reference of accruals, both current and non-current accruals. As Wilson defined that current accruals is the difference between earnings and cash from operations, and non-current accruals are defined as working capital from operation less earnings. Although FASB has maintained that accruals are useful for accessing share values, let's take a look at what academics have to say about this. So I'm going to talk about Wilson's paper published in 1986. This study addressed two main questions. The first one is, do the accruals and funds components of earnings have incremental information content beyond earnings themselves? Secondly, does the accrual component have incremental information content beyond the funds components of earnings? In both cases, the answer is affirmative. Wilson suggests that most of the total accruals information content may be due to its current accruals component. The study analysis first quarter result, as they believe there would be more accruals adjustment taking place, which give rise to the information financial statement. The study contradicts Briley and Miles' paper published in 1981 that questioned the reliability and relevance of earnings because of its accrual components. However, Rebon demonstrates that new information about accruals have incremental information content beyond new information about firms, which complements and is consistent with the result presented here. Wilson reasons that since the economy was in a severe downturn during the simple period of 1981 to 1982, these results are consistent with investors regarding firms for being responsive to decrease in demand for their product. So next I will hand over to John.
I'm now going to talk about the value relevance of accruals in two papers published in 2008 and 2011 respectively, and compare the views of these papers to Wilson 1986, which Agnes talked about. First, let's take a look at Kumar and Krishnan's 2008 paper. They examine the role of investment opportunities as a factor of the relative importance of cash flows from operations in accruals and firm valuation. They analysed firms through the fiscal years 1990 to 2001, excluding utilities and banking firms. Their results showed that accruals value relevance actually varies inversely with investment opportunities at large, high-growth companies. The results also complement Sloan 1996 paper. Kumar and Krishnan state that although Dichow 1994 notes that accruals enhance the value relevance of earnings by addressing timing and matching problems, when intangibles are expensed or arbitrarily amortized, the effectiveness of accruals in addressing timing and matching problems is compromised. Their paper contradicts what Wilson's 1986 paper put forward, although Wilson doesn't segregate his samples by size of firm, so we must be careful not to jump to the conclusion that value relevance of accruals had declined since 1986. We then looked at Akbar, Shah and Stark 2011 paper. They used a valuation-based methodology and employed a UK sample of non-financial firms for the years 1993 to 2007, so using similar types of firms as Kumar and Krishnan 2008, but over a longer timeline. Akbar, Shah and Stark found the valuation coefficients on current accruals and non-current accruals were statistically different from zero. This suggests that accruals are individually value relevant. Their results were similar to those found by Akbar and Stark 2003. After looking at Akbar, Shah and Stark 2011 and other excellent research in this area, we decided to come to the conclusion that the overall value relevance of accruals hadn't changed from the first date range of 1970 to 1990 to the second date range of 1990 to the present day. This contradicts what Kumar and Krishnan found, but we don't agree with Kumar and Krishnan because their evidence is based on a subset of the market, i.e. larger, high-growth firms.
Now let me hand over to Sneha, who's going to talk about the conclusion.
To conclude, although the historical cost is deemed more reliable, in the various papers that have been analyzed, it can be seen that the fair value method is always seen as more value relevant over time, since it uses current market values as it shows the true economic value. Although John and Agnes found contrasting academic research, they concluded that the value relevance of accruals hadn't changed. As for the non-financial information, the disclosure of it has increased in value relevance between the two time periods, because of the growth of high-tech industries and the treatment of R&D and patents. Thank you for listening. Additionally, this is the bibliography with our various sources.